Hello, everyone. Welcome to a longer episode for my 60 by 60 park. The work on the Japanese pavilion is done. I have commenced building the Egyptian pavilion right here. I'm kind of figuring out what kind of layout I want. I want to go for a bit of a bazaar type of vibe. We'll see where that goes. But for now, let me just kind of walk you through the Japanese area. You've probably already seen the showcase. And in this not so polished update, I'm just going to show you everything there is to see. So, of course, as you might know, it's right next door to the Mexican pavilion. And, well, it kind of starts with a typical torii gate. And, of course, I'm pulling out all of the cliches that you can think of when you think of Japan. So we're having these beautiful white garden walls. I've done them before in my Seven Seas project. Sadly, I couldn't re-import them, and when I started work on these circular entrances, I kind of forgot how I did it, and it took me a while to figure out how I built my previous walls. But I think it succeeded, and again, I've used the World's Fair pack fences to create some sort of a kind of a window and just breaking up the monolith structure. There's a bit of, well, what I would like to think of as Japanese gardening going on. It's very light and sort of imitates bigger nature. It's imperfect, it's not symmetrical, and that's exactly what one could expect in a beautiful Zen garden. The torii gate, by the way, well, it's actually humongous. Maybe I should just put a little archer next to it, so that you can see the scale. It is fairly big, but I felt it was warranted because this is also one of the things that once you come from, this is at one point is going to be done. You come from the entrance area, the Greek area. Of course, you're going to see this sort of all world Cultures United Tower of Babylon like structure, but right behind that, of course, is the Japanese pavilion, and so I wanted it to be impressive, and I hope I succeeded. The torii gate is slightly slanted, and that's exactly kind of what I wanted to go for. It sort of makes it even bigger, and it just adds something. I don't know. I just having completely straight just didn't feel right, and just imagine that it's sort of tilting over, over time. What do we want to explore first? Well, why don't we just start in the center? Now, of course, the crown jewel is the Efteling Pagoda dark ride, and I should just have it open, and hopefully we'll see it go up every now and then. Actually, we see it go up right away. Wonderful. That's really is the ultimate piece here. Whereas Mexico had its Aztec-like pyramid, and England has, or the UK has the Tower of London. Greece doesn't really have a focal point either, unless, of course, you count the massive Medusa ride. But yeah, for this one, I just wanted to have the pagoda, and it's sort of the center land. It's also the biggest land, and with that, from here, you would have a beautiful view over the park. So once you enter, there's just, well, you can go to the left, you can go to the right, obviously. Let's just take the right side. I wanted this part to be a bit more nature and calm and impressive, and sort of instill that, I don't know, that's old satin road kind of feeling vibe. Kind of throwing a couple of Eastern Asian cultures in one mix here, I have to admit. But hopefully it's mostly Japanese that it feels like. So right here, now, of course, these are really typically Chinese. So again, my apologies if that comes across as culturally insensitive, but there's only so much you can do in this game. So there's this Lion Road, which is beautifully illuminated at night. Looks like this. And that would take you straight to the temple, which is inspired by the famous one in Kyoto. I think it's the most photographed temple in all of Japan. It's a bit of a thick structure. It's thick and low because, well, quite frankly, I didn't want to make it look taller than the pagoda when it's on the ground. And so, yeah, it's a bit of a thick pagoda, but I feel it works somehow. You cannot enter it. I thought for a hot minute to sort of turn this into a outlook platform, but then you would also see the horrible backstage area at some point. So it's just one of these Instagrammable things that our guests will be frolicking in front of. Then right there, of course, would be the entrance with a tiny, cute little torii gate to welcome you. Finally, I could put these fans at use, and I use them as umbrellas. I couldn't recolor them. That is, again, a glaring oversight in Planet Coaster. We're used to those. I can't recolor this piece, but still, I think it works really well. The wall at the entrance sort of comes back here. For a while, I thought of creating more village facade here, but then it just didn't make any sense. This side of the part of the pavilion is very different than the other side. And as we pass the dragon sculpture, with that one soaring overhead, we basically go to the Japanese village side. We pass some of those lanterns. There is what I like to think is a typical sort of Japanese garden bridge. Of course, at first I wanted all of this to be a beautiful pond, and there are even some koi carps on the workshop, some TMTK items. But as everyone who ever tried anything with the terrain in Planet Coaster knows, it will be a major headache trying to turn this into a beautiful pond. So that just doesn't work. For a second, I thought of using billboards to create, that gravel where they use this tool, of which the name eludes me right now. Anyway, they create these wonderful circles, and it's a very meditative activity. It takes hours, if not days, to complete it. So I thought of turning the terrain into that typical circular gravel Zen garden pattern. But the thing is, you would need to lower the billboards to the extent that they wouldn't cover the footpaths. But then the moment you zoom out just a bit, the illusion would be broken. So I just stuck with some sort of a burnt grass type of vibe here. A bit of, gravelly, muddy, grassy. And it works fine. There's a bit of rock work. There are made up of these sort of rose climbers, I think is the word. I made my own custom cherry trees. And this will be highly unrealistic, of course, with their falling leaves, but especially for the video, it was a nice little touch. Anyway, as we go here, and by the way, yes, this actually works. This was a major headache, and I forgot how I did the middle section. This is a footpath. This tiny little flat section in the middle, it is a footpath, and of course the rest is as well. Luckily, just by the way the park is laid out, the texture aligned perfectly with the bridge, and I think it was the same the other way around. So for some reason we got two textures, right? We got two wooden textures. One of them goes one way, the other goes the other way. I don't know why they did that, but I'm glad they did, because that means that both of my bridges work out real nice. Anyway, as you cross it, there is the shops and restrooms and what have you not part. Just kind of took Google Street View there and walked in all the parts of Kyoto, Osaka, Nara, and other parts of Japan, and just sort of wanted to imitate the various styles. I kept it dark on purpose. I think that works lovely, making the lanterns and the shops stand out even more. Of course, there's got to be a sushi shop, and behind this glorious entrance is a restroom. And that really is all there is to it. There aren't too many shops in this land, unlike the UK and also Mexico that are littered with shops. But in Japan, I just kept it low-key. There is a lovely seating area right here with tarps, with sail to sort of shield you from the sun. And you are next to, and I'm so grateful for this piece, you are next to a wonderful sort of a rock, sort of emulating a bit of a mountain range. It's not meant to sell you that illusion that you're looking up against a wall of mountains, but it's just sort of, it's the kind of thing that I could imagine in a Japanese themed garden where they use little parts to imitate a bigger nature. The bonsai trees are a great example of that. And then I featured a waterfall, and everyone who's ever used this piece knows what an absolute horror it is to work with that, because the emitter, the beam from which the waterfall supposedly is emitted, seems to be a meter or two away from the actual effect, and so that is somewhere here at the back. There's the actual emitter, and I just built this nonsense house, this little, what do you call it, maintenance building, facility building. Let's just imagine that the watering system is in here. There's a pump to get it upwards, and then once it goes down, it gets pumped up again. I don't know. I had to do something here because I do like myself a realistic backstage area, and so this is also why that mountain range is clearly supported. And this is sort of, hopefully, sort of the thing that one could expect. As you can see, I still have to finish this part from within the Mexican rite because, well, we don't really want them to look at this. So I might do the same I did here, where I simply took beams in various shades of brown, and then added some foliage at the back. Bamboo, of course, is a great option. It would be cheap for the park to plant. It would grow fast, be very low maintenance. At the same time, of course, one has to be mindful that at the back is where all of the maintenance is happening, and so this would be the service corridor. So I don't know yet how I'm going to solve that, but I will solve that. It's just one of these things that are not fun. And, I guess when 90% of the park is done, the remaining 10% will be me fixing the backstage areas. And that kind of sums it up. I'm not one to talk for half an hour, so I just gave you a quick update. I think I've shown you everything there's to see. Maybe I can already tell you a bit about the Egyptian pavilion that is going to be right next door. And most likely the final pavilion is going to be an Indian pavilion. But I'm not 100% sure yet. So if you have any suggestions for another prolific culture that has a lot of landmarks and a lot of rituals and traditions and things that I could use, then by all means let me know. The Egyptian pavilion, just like the UK pavilion, will not have a visible rite. It will have something of a smaller, let's imagine it's a indoor ride, a dark ride here inside this show building. Not as massive as the King's Vault, but still sizable. There's a bit of forced perspective, right? There's this idea, hopefully at some point, that the front here, this sort of temple entrance, is, well, that would be right in front of you, and then that the pyramids, you kind of have to see them as structures far in the distance. It's hard to sell that illusion, to be honest. That's maybe I would have to make them even smaller and somehow put them even further away. There's only so much you can do, and I didn't want to put a pyramid there because that would just feel too obvious. And so the pyramids are there, but they are in the distance. And let me just turn the torch on. Yeah, I guess it has 2 entrances or 3 officially, but probably it's only going to use this entrance. I think I put a restaurant in there for now. I did. I don't know what I'm going to do with that space as of yet. Maybe I should add some doors. We'll see. It turned out nicely. It's a simple structure, but at the same time it feels detailed enough, and I think maybe there's a way to add sand, like little piles of sand, in front of some of these walls, making it look as if they just escaped a sandstorm. That would be nice. We'll see. That's going to be a real challenge to sort of make this feel like a bazaar and have you feel as if you could spend an hour in here when, really it's just a small area. It's kind of a similar thing that I did in Greece, even though the Greek pavilion was so much bigger. But when you look at the Greek pavilion, you can only go in two directions. But it's basically a circle, right? It's a spoke. But just give you the feeling like this is a land that you can wander around in and immerse yourself in tzatziki and sambuca and beautiful Greek dishes and tradition and music. So we'll see where that goes, and hopefully I can replicate that same feeling on a smaller scale in the Egyptian pavilion. We'll see. I have to admit that I'm also sort of, well, I wouldn't say demotivated. It's just that I have ideas for a new park, and I really, really, really want to finish this project before I embark on anything new. But it's always been a year that I've been working on this, and I have this theory that there's only so many hours that you can spend on one project before project fatigue sets in. So we'll see, but I definitely want to finish the park and then upload it to the workshop and do one more glorious tour of the entire park with guests inside. And so I guess I'll be working on it until the end of the year. But you know what? Looking back at it, it does really feel like a park. The themed areas are pretty unique. It's different from Epcot. It's because it has rides and it just feels a bit different. Yeah, well, this is where I am. Hopefully the next video you'll see from this project is going to be a beautiful showcase of the Egypt pavilion. And so on that note, I say goodbye and I thank you for watching. Bye bye.